Let's talk about planets, moons, stars, and solar systems. Because the game I'm making is sci-fi, we'll need lots of planets. And because the game I'm making is procedural, we'll need a way to make interesting, different planets procedurally. And because the game we're making is hard sci-fi, we should have these worlds based in science. Worlds are really important because they're the settings where the players will go to do stuff. In some of the best sci-fi, the alien planets are often central elements. Note that I won't say they're almost a character themselves because I hate that. Luckily for me, I'm really interested in exoplanets and already know a lot about them. Let's start with worlds. I made some tiles, then I made an editor for myself. The algorithm uses noise to generate random altitudes, then places tiles based on the altitude and the weights of those altitudes. So if I want 2/3 mountains and 1/3 other stuff, I just have to make the mountain number be 1/3 that of the total numbers here. Then I can save each planet and it will make randomly sized planets in either the habitable zone or the cold zones or hot zones outside the habitable zone. Now, on to stars. Some tiles again, and some close-ups. You probably know that stars come in several sizes and colors, all the way from brown dwarfs, which people aren't sure should even count as stars, up to the largest, though not necessarily the most massive stars, red supergiants. We're running into an important tension in the game here between scientific accuracy and fun. If we made our systems exactly like real star systems, then something north of 3/4 of all the stars would be little red dwarfs. The MVP I made for this game takes place in an airless rocky world orbiting a red dwarf, and I made this little vignette that I'm pretty proud of. But I think for a roguelike where the player's doing lots of runs, it might be boring to make it so you almost never see a star bigger than our sun. By the way, if anyone tells you that our sun is a boring, ordinary star, you can remind them that it's bigger than 90% of the stars in the universe. Okay. So I made some stars for the maps. Then I wrote up an algorithm to make the star at the center and the planets orbiting around it. About 1/3 of all star systems in real life are multi-star systems, with one star orbiting another, or two of them orbiting a common barycenter, or two little stars orbiting each other around a bigger third star. Lots of variety here. Now for the planets. Some planets will be big gas giants and will have moons orbiting those that are worlds you can land on. And for multi-star systems, we'll have the same setup, but it's just a star in the center instead of a planet. In my planet maker, I also have two kinds of overrides. The first is a polar override. This is so I can make the poles of a planet that are in an ice age. Another important override is tidal locking. We don't have any planets in our solar system that are tidally locked, but tidally locked planets are likely pretty common in the universe, especially if they're close to small stars like red dwarfs. What's tidal locking? Well, the moon is a good example. Its orbital and rotational periods are the same, so the same side is always facing us, though it does sort of wobble a bit. That's called libration. This shouldn't really matter much for moons, but it could matter a lot for planets. You could have a planet in a hot zone that's only comfortable at the terminus or on the colder backside of the planet, or the reverse, where the planet is icy cold, but the temperature near the permanent noon is temperate. So I made it so I could make those two. The worlds themselves have 3 layers. When you click on a world, first you'll see the planetary disk, which is comprised of the region tiles. Clicking on a tile takes you to the region view, which is made of different terrain tiles, which are the same tiles. Clicking on a terrain tile takes you to a tactical map, which does have different tiles. Originally, I wanted the tile sets on the tactical map to line up with the region tiles, line up to the planet tiles, so that you could theoretically walk across the whole planet from pole to pole, and it would all be consistent and all match. And I did do that, but they were so clunky and the maps were so repetitive, I decided to go into a different direction with Wavefunction Collapse. What's Wavefunction Collapse? If you want to make roguelikes and you don't know what that is, watch this great video. But basically what it is you make the rules for which tiles are allowed to go next to which tiles. Then you go through and pick the tile that's currently the most restricted, fill that tile, and keep going until your map is done. I made a tool so I could make these, and it turned out great. So now the jungles look jungly and the deserts look deserted. I even made a little test where you can go on a mission on a random map just to make sure the zooms at all the different levels worked. But that's not ready for primetime yet. Okay, what do you think? These are my planets. These are my worlds. Okay, that's all for today. Bye-bye.